What's up with y'all, man? It's your boy Trey Rule, and today I'm here with a very different video than what we usually doing here on the channel, just to kind of bring some new flavor. If you're new here, you probably don't know who I am, but I am a singer, songwriter, producer, and a filmmaker from Benton Harbor, Michigan, currently residing in Atlanta, Georgia. And this channel is about me giving a window into my workflow, my lifestyle, my creative brush or canvas, whatever it is you would want to establish that as. Just kind of me giving an insight onto how I do things and just kind of documenting the process, so that way I got something to look back on and be proud of. This is going to be a video solely based on film production and how I color grade my footage. I was reached out to on the behalf of Dehancer. They're a company that makes a film emulation plugin for programs like DaVinci Resolve, Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, and it helps you emulate what film would look like in terms of color grading. Now me, I've personally been a person that just uses the stock stuff inside of DaVinci for the longest, but I am familiar with how Dehancer works, and I've been using it on some projects here recently, and I kind of fell back in love with the process of using Dehancer. So while Dehancer did reach out to me, no money was exchanged or anything like that. They did send me a discount code for anybody who would want to purchase this plugin after watching this video. It would be TreyRoot. I'm gonna put it on the screen here. With that coupon code, you would be buying Dehancer, no additional cost to you. I will be getting a small percentage of that kickback from when you purchase. So if you want to help the channel out and start seeing more videos like that, please use that discount code. And I've been using DaVinci for some while now. DaVinci came out with its own tool that kind of works in the same setting as a Dehancer plugin. It's called the Film Look Creator tool. That's been getting me by for the longest. The videos that you have seen recently have all been created and color graded with that plugin. But when Dehancer reached out to me, it made me realize something that I was missing from inside of that plugin, and we'll go over that once we get into DaVinci. So
turned down a promotion at my job, but my excuse was cause the pay. But honestly, that was a lie, cause every dollar should be made. But ever since my dog at work died, things ain't been the same. Closest thing to a brotherhood since I moved to the A.
That video that you guys just watched was a video that I created using Dehancer inside of DaVinci, and I would go over that particular grade, but I do want to show you guys from scratch how I would do some things. So we're going to pull everything up inside of the DaVinci. Blank project. Answer tutorial. And I usually don't color grade on my laptop, but the last couple of projects I have been doing, I usually use my big monitor, and I usually try to color grade in like a dark setting, just so that way I'm making sure I'm getting the best accurate color. But we need to be super technical on this here. We're just kind of showing you guys my workflow and what I actually think about or the plugin. I'm just gonna grab a bunch of different footage that I have. All of this was shot on the Fujifilm X-H2S with the Blazar anamorphic lens. I do have to put my things into anamorphic aspect, but we are going to start with this one here. So this is just the clip that you guys just seen me play. So we're just gonna take this in. Of course, it's not in the right aspect ratio. Now Dehancer is a very computer intensive or CPU intensive plugin. If you don't have a computer that will run it properly while you have it in like 4K or anything like that, I definitely recommend stepping down to 1080p. And if you do some transforming and stuff like that, it seems to kind of play back a little skippy. It's really from like when you have the grain, the halation, and the bloom on. So you can always add that on after you're done, dialing in your look. All right, so you go to your color tab, pull up your effects, which is this section here. Well, it's the library basically. Create you a couple nodes just to kind of make sure you got your workflow set up how you want to. Me personally, I got two different ways that I would possibly color grade with Dehancer. Drag it on, yada yada yada. So that doesn't look too pleasant, but once you load it up, it automatically puts a Rec 709 over the top of it. The good thing about Dehancer is it does come with a bunch of different camera profiles. So you would just go to choose camera, vendor, select your vendor. Like I said, I shot this on my Fujifilm. I will go to X-H2S, and I will also go to F-Log 2 because that's what I shot it in. So this doesn't look pleasant to me. It's kind of dark. super dark, but that's because the film print or the film profile and the print are on right now. So if you go through and you turn both of those off, kind of got it out of that log format. But me, what I like to do is I like to go to that first node and then the second node, and I like to get my exposure right, or get it in the ballpark of where I would want it. So on this first one, I would do the global, and what you would do is just drag the exposure down. You don't want it too dark. You still want some detail in the face and all that good stuff. But this, like, you could drag this all the way down and it'll kind of, you can bring it all the way up, depending on what you want to do, you know. So I bring this down, and then I will also go to this one here and just tweak the temperature, kind of getting the white balance where I want it to. So on the original one I did have it kind of like green tinted, kind of like getting that Matrix vibe out of it. But then what you would do is you would go to down here, the profile. I like the print film. I like that one there. I think this is the one I use in conjunction with the Cine Steel. But that Kodak print is an actual printing format that they use in Hollywood. I believe I did film. I did Cine Steel on this original one. The 50D, and I had to been the 800T. Yeah, so the 800T is the one that I use. So look, that's already not looking half bad in terms of the style I was going for. Like I said, I wanted it to be dramatic, kind of almost like the Matrix. You got the nice blown out window there that's giving me a nice rim light right here. And then I did have another light bouncing off of the wall just to kind of fill in some of that negative space on this opposite side. If you can see right here in the reflection of my glasses, the light is bouncing off of that. I didn't have it super high, I had it like 15% or something like that. But then you just come in and start messing around with the different settings. I'll always turn the analog range limiter on. Me personally, it actually doesn't look bad without it on. It's really just a matter on you picking and choosing and playing around with what you like. It actually don't look half bad. See, but I would end up putting that contrast back in anyway. So the analog range limiter, film compression, and then film developer. Those are kind of things you just mess around with and tweak to your liking. It's not necessarily like a set way to use everything. It's all taste based. So what I usually do is I usually come to my black point, bring it back down. Don't want it too crushed or anything like that. So I'm looking at my histogram as I'm moving this down. So about right there is looking good for me. And then also bring the white point down just a little bit, because I don't want it to be super blown out. So then you see that tonal range, it help you get some of that detail back on the outside of that window. Yeah, that film compression is really one of those main driving factors. Like I said, you would pretty much want to dial in your film profile and your print before messing with any of the other stuff like the film compression and the film developer, because once you throw the profile on or the print on, a lot of that stuff will be affected because some of them are darker, some of them have a different temperature and stuff like that. So it's really just messing around with it until you get it to look how you want to. So I actually think I could pull up on this just a tad bit. I usually try to turn my film grain off while I'm working, because as you can see, when you toggle the film grain on and off, it does give you a little bit of light back. So let me see. And then just messing with the push and pull of the profile. I like where it was at originally though. So now if I start going into the print, turn up the exposure just a little bit or bring it down a little bit, you know, things like that. Tonal contrast, you know. You got a lot of control here in Dehancer. So let me just play this real quick. Yeah, so that doesn't look bad to me. It's still some stuff I would tweak about it, maybe just a little bit of the temperature. You know, I'm not super technical. I'm not a colorist or anything like that. I do believe I get fairly good color grades out of my footage, but I'm not super technical. I just do it until it looks good to the eye. You know, most people like to triple check their scopes, vector scope, parade, all that stuff. So on the setting like this, you might want to lift your exposure up just a little bit, right? Just to kind of get some detail back in that face so you can see some of the facial hair and all that good stuff. If I put it back to where I had it, you know, you can still see it, but it's not really much detail there. So just kind of bringing it back step by step, probably about right there. And then what I would do is go in and turn on my film grain. So the film grain is usually set to a nice spot if you use the preset one. The 35mm ISO 250 is decent. It's really just messing around with it until you get something that you actually like. Me personally, for this one, I think I did end up going with like the 250. I think I might have toned it down just a little bit, but the grain inside of Dehancer looks really, really good. I think for the sake of this, I'm gonna just leave it where it's at. And then the halation can be kind of overwhelming if you leave it at the stock. Yeah, that's not as bad as it usually is. And then the lens that I'm using is the Blazar Remus 35mm, so that does have a lot of chromatic aberrations in it already, so that halation just kind of takes over what's already there when you kind of tone it down a little bit. So this shot looks really, really good to me in terms of what I wanted. So if we go back and toggle back and forth between the two, you know, that's the power of Dehancer there. And then we go bloom. So with the bloom, you could go crazy. It looks kind of weird. You don't want it to look unnatural. So I just try to tone this back same way you would do the halation, you know, and then you got the enable button. So you could toggle it on and off just to see if you actually like how it looks. So that's pretty much all I would technically do if I was just using Dehancer the way that I wanted to. To the next clip. So the next clip is just some outside stuff. We'll kind of take the same approach we did the first time. So you make your different nodes. Dehancer here at the end. Again, same camera. So we're going Fujifilm, H2S, F-Log 2. We're gonna turn that grain off really quick just to kind of make sure getting the look we want. And for this one, we're gonna go analog range limiter, of course. So I just tweaked the highlights, the overall settings, and the shadows of this profile here. Then I go, of course, back to the second one. Get my temperature right. This was like a nice day. The sun was out. I still have to really learn my Fuji. I haven't really shot much outdoors with it. That F-Log 2 has a native ISO of 1250, and it's kind of hard to kind of get the look I be wanting to get out of it outdoors. I've been shooting most of the time indoors with my camera, especially after COVID and stuff like that. So I do have to get back out into shooting in the daytime with my camera. Cool. So that's somewhere in the ballpark of where I would have it. You turn your film on. I actually like the Vision 3. So same steps as before. Go in, switch your black point, white point. So bring it up just to the point where the cloud. So that's overdoing it. So you dial it back about right there. And if you want to, you could bring that black point down just a little bit more. See, and then on something like this, I would probably go back in to the HDR wheel, probably bring up that global just a tad bit, probably about right there. So that's looking good to me. Yeah, that looks real good. A couple things I would change. Add that film compression, of course. Film compression may or may not even be needed on this one. So it's really just, it's all judgment based. So back, tonal range. Yeah, I think I'm actually need the film compression. Oh wait, and I could do it like that. Like that there. That's sweet. So still some more you can do to it. Me personally, I would probably go into the color head. The color head is cool because you can change specific colors, almost like grabbing the hue saturation curves or whatever. And you kind of just go in and tweak. Slide yellow over to blue a little bit if you wanted to. Maybe right there in the middle. Do your magentas and your greens. Trying to get that skin tone nice and crisp, a little brown to it. And then the cyan. It's a look. After that, it's pretty much just turning your film grain back on. Like I said, that is overly doing it. Bring it down some. Halation. Add that back in. And then your bloom. Yeah, that bloom is entirely too much. See how it's like ghosting over here on the side of his face? Let's say his face, the other side of my face. So bring that down just to where it's noticeable, but not taking over the shot. Maybe about right there. Yeah. Like I said, I always had a strong love for filmmaking, so I know this is different than what you guys are used to seeing on the channel and stuff like that, but I'm looking forward to bringing more stuff like this to show you guys who I truly am, you know, instead of me just getting on here ranting about music gear, making music, everything like that. I want this channel to be like literally a window into my life. Dehancer also has an app that you can use. The app is super sweet. So if you like record videos on your iPhone, you can do a bunch of stuff on there as well. So you just go to Dehancer, pull it up. The mobile app is super sweet though, because it's one of those things where if you're on the go and you take a picture and you want to color grade it or want to use it for video or anything like that, you most certainly can. It'll come out looking good. They have the same profiles and film emulations and all that stuff as in the professional app inside of DaVinci. The cons and the pros of Dehancer. So one of the pros is if you're not someone who really knows how to color grade, they have a bunch of different ways for you to start off and getting a good look right out of the box with these film prints, these film profiles and stuff like that. You know, you can grab Kodak, Portra, you got the Ilfords, you got your Cine Stills. You know, a bunch of people like to emulate film stocks that they might take pictures on or anything like that. So being able to have that in the box and it look almost identical to regular film is a win for me. The ease of use is there. You just have to play around with it to actually know what's going on with certain things. I always tell people, like, when it comes to mixing music, I do the same thing. Like, I'll turn something up all the way until it's unbearable for me. Then I'll dial it back just to where I can slightly tolerate it, and then dial it back just a little bit more to where it's perfect. So if you get in here and you mess around with certain settings and everything like that, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to come up with a solid look for every project that you run through Dehancer. Another pro is that it comes in many different formats. So like I said earlier, you can get it for DaVinci, you can get it for Adobe Premiere, Adobe After Effects. They even got one for Lightroom and Photoshop. So this isn't just limited to a video plugin, you know, where you color grade in videos. It can also be for photos and special effects and stuff like that. It's not just limited to just a computer. Like I said, you can use it on your phone as well. It's not many cons, but there is two that's heavy on my mind, and I do want to get those out on the floor so that way you guys know I am truly being honest with you. I wouldn't promote anything on my channel that I wouldn't personally use myself, so I definitely want to go over these things with you as well. The first con is the pricing. Pricing for Dehancer isn't necessarily the most affordable for indie filmmakers like myself. Coming with a hefty price tag for the Dehancer Pro for the lifetime purchase, it's $549. You know, they do have yearly subscriptions, they got quarterly subscriptions, and they got monthly subscriptions. Depending on how you feel about monthly subscriptions, that's solely based on you. Me personally, I don't like doing subscription-based stuff because I feel like if I'm paying for it and I don't use it, what's the point of me, you know, paying for it, basically? So I like to buy my thing one time. They got different plans. For what you're getting is not bad, but at the same time, you know, most of the people that will be using Dehancer are indie filmmakers and stuff like that. But it's one of those things where if you know you're going to be making money off of your work, you're, you know, in a professional setting. This is a professional tool. You would need to go ahead and shell out that money for it. The second thing is the fact that it's hard on the computer. Some people may not have the luxury to be able to run the max resolution and then still be able to play back the footage. But other than that, man, that's pretty much it for me. Once again, I want to thank Dehancer for sending me the plugin. I am truly grateful. This is the first sponsor that we have on the channel, and it's something that I can see myself using for the, you know, the rest of time. So if you guys would, when you purchase Dehancer, make sure you use my code again. That's TreyRoo. Put it on here on the screen for you. And then until next time, man, peace.